Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Sofia Hasmik about Season 3 of Superman and Lois on the CW. Welcome back to the show. It's so good to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, it's so crazy. I mean, it's interesting because, you know, we talked I think 2 years ago. It feels like such a long time ago.
No, it could be 2 years ago. It could have been 10 years ago.
Now it's kind of like multiple seasons and years of you playing this character. Are you more like into journalism like never before now after playing this character for many seasons? I'm curious about that.
No, I mean, I feel like you feel the weight of it. Like Chrissy always carries, she takes journalism so seriously as she should. And I feel the weight of that, you know?
Yeah.
I really feel the weight of that. And she's grown so much in her professional life, and she's learned so much, especially from season 1 to now season 3, like you were saying. She's developed more of a footing, I would say. She's on sturdier ground, I think, with who she is.
I think it's like, it's interesting because Chrissy, it's always an interesting one for season 1. And I feel like the interviews you do for season 1 compared to season 2 and season 3 are always going to be different because season 1, kind of like you said, we're trying to figure things out. We're kind of introduced to these characters, right? And like the actors, like you, that was the first time you played Chrissy. So you're like figuring out too. And now it's like season 3, it's a little bit like, I got this, I think.
Yeah. I got this. And it's also, it's like the dynamic of everything too switches up as well, like working alone at the Gazette versus working with Lois and really establishing her place within journalism, within the Gazette, especially with Lois being there. It's just, it's been incredible to watch that growth and be a part of it.
Lois is interesting because Lois kind of has Superman and Lois, especially Lois. I love it because, like you said, you have the Superman and his family component and everything, and then you have Lois at the Gazette and everything. Your character is very involved with Lois when she's kind of at work. What's that like being being a character that's involved with a character that's really part of those two worlds? Because I do find that interesting about Chrissy.
Yeah, I mean, just like with anything in life, you have your friends who you are spending so much time with in one place. And just like any human interaction, like you're going to go into a space carrying what you have gone through that day, 2 days before, a week before, and it sort of builds a relationship in kind of like a very nuanced, layered way.
Yes.
Great, because I think Chrissy also gets little tidbits of everything that's going on. She kind of sort of is like managing all of it in kind of a great way.
Not just for Chrissy, but season 2 kind of left a lot of unanswered questions. And I feel like this is kind of comic book culture, geek culture, nerd culture is always going to do this. Stuff happens in the last couple episodes of season 2, and it's like, what is happening? You think about it for a whole 3-month span, and then we're back for season 3. As an actor, what is that mindset when you finally get scripts for season 3 after what happened in season 2 specifically?
I think just like how everybody is going to feel tomorrow when we premiere, I was blown away. Oh my God, I had like a meeting, like a preseason meeting, and just like, I think my mouth was open the entire time. Flies could have gone in and out. Like it was like, I couldn't breathe. I was so...
Chrissy is a superhero. No. Just kidding.
Yeah. Fitting for my super suit. No. No, but it's great because I feel like I've kind of become a part of that, like that fandom in a way. I can't wait to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
And it's like what you think is going to happen when you have those meetings at the beginning of the season. And things change and things move around. And so it's fun. I feel like we're all a little bit on our toes a little bit. It's exciting. Everything is just as exciting as everybody waiting for it to happen.
A lot of superhero shows and movies do what I'm about to tell you, Sophia. But I feel like Superman and Lois does this, in my opinion, a lot better than other shows and movies. When you watch Superman and Lois, there are moments where you're watching a superhero show, and then there are moments where you're not at all watching a superhero show. You're watching a show about a family. And sometimes you even forget that they have powers. And then their dad is one of the most iconic superheroes. Do you, is that one of the coolest things about being part of the show? The balance of it being a superhero show and of it being a pretty amazing and entertaining family drama with a lot of arcs and kind of growth within the families as well on the show.
Oh, 100%. It's incredible to be a part of a show that does such a phenomenal job at balancing the two worlds, especially with such an iconic superhero, it being Superman, and having that relatability in a way. And I feel like it's humbling in a way, like to see a superhero go through the things that families go through on whatever level it is. And having that connection, I think, is so important for the message of Superman, which in the way that I see it is a message of hope.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where, do you agree with me sometimes though? Where sometimes it's kind of, I guess sometimes it's hard to forget that it's a superhero show when the power.
No, I do. No, I do totally agree with you, because it's interesting how they do it. You'll have scenes where you're just talking about, again, like I said, things that people go through on a daily basis. And then, you'll have, it's like even in the middle of the scene, then you'll have Tyler look to the side with his super hearing, and you're like, oh my God, that's right, you're Superman. So I totally agree. It almost feels like there's two shows within one show, but in such a real rooted way.
Chrissy has swag, and she has some sass, and I don't know, I feel like there could be some kind of self-esteem issues, especially when we meet her in season 1 and everything. But I feel like deep down she knows that she's going to be the greatest journalist of all time. Do you know what I mean by that a little bit? I feel like deep down.
Yeah, she carries herself in a way, but she also kind of makes a little room for her very awkward, sort of clumsy nature.
That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm just saying there's one of this she's sometimes figuring things out, and I wouldn't say she doesn't know how to read a room, but sometimes she just makes.
Yeah, it's not so much that she doesn't.
It's a fun character. I think you really get to play a really fun character, Sophia.
I really, really do. I'm grateful every single day for her, for the show, for everyone. Honestly, she's so interesting because she does carry herself in a very confident way. But I think with anybody, there's always going to be that self-doubt a little bit, reading a room. I think she's pretty good at, but that, I think that she gives way to those little voices sometimes that percolate, that little bit of self-doubt.
So you understand where I'm coming from with that.
Yeah. She's fun because I think she's just very honest as well in that regard. She feels very deeply. She's very compassionate. She's
100%.
Such a hard worker, and she leaves room for that kind of goofy, sassy character that lives inside of her as well.
I feel like you can answer this question in general. You can answer this question about Superman and Lois, but I feel like we're at a point now with storytelling and content these days where a lot of TV shows, and I think it's just a credit to the writing, because I think Superman and Lois, especially season 2, really did an amazing job with this. the writing is so kind of deep in terms of fleshing out these characters and their growth, where like, you know, you watch like a TV show, you're like, wow, like this character really grew throughout the whole season. You know what I mean? From like 10 episodes, this character really grew. You know what I mean? Now you're like, Sophia, this character like grew like in like 10 minutes.
She's on the fast track.
You know what I mean though, right? There's this unbelievable kind of, I feel like there's this kind of like time dedicated in certain episodes to really flesh out characters. Do you know what I mean by that a little bit?
Absolutely. And the writers do such a phenomenal job at showcasing that and really showing, I think, in such an incredible way, like you had said, the growth of these characters, but also it's like I'm growing at the same time that she's growing, and we're all like discovering these new things. And I think that whether it's fast paced or not, like I did say, like she is on that fast track, but I think it's all circumstance, right? When life comes at you with so many different things, she, I feel like, is so good at adapting and being like, yep, got it, internalizing it, we're doing it, we're growing, and we're moving on, and we're learning the next thing. And it's been such a joy. It's been such a joy to not only experience it, but just see it with the other characters as well.
What about the self-reflection? Because during the pandemic, and I'm 95% sure I asked you this question the last time but it's a very relatable question, so I might answer it again. But like the self-reflection thing is big for me with a lot of TV shows, because you look at a lot of these characters, you look at Chrissy, you look at Jordy, you look at all these, the Kents, like you look at all these characters, and they are like figuring out things and doing soul searching like all the time, right? And then during the pandemic, we were doing a lot of soul searching and self-reflection because we had the time to do so. So I watched Superman and Lois, and I watched certain scenes with Chrissy and Lois and everything, and I'm like, this hits hard. This hits like a lot harder because of what I kind of during the pandemic and everything. So I feel like it becomes more relatable. Do you think about those things at all a little bit with projects now?
I do, because I think it's interesting with having all that time off and going inward and trying to, as simple as it sounds, trying to figure out really who you are outside of the labels that have been created for you. It's been quite the journey,
yeah,
really. And I think that it's impossible to separate the two from your own personal life versus like the characters that you see or the characters that you play. It's like you see that it's affected everybody who's involved with making films or making TV or making anything really, anything creative. We're all affected by what we take in, and then how we see the world and how we think the world sees us and how we see ourselves. And I think that that also adds on to the fast pace of the growth that's happening.
Absolutely. And episodes rolling out weekly starting tomorrow, March 14th, for season 3 of Superman and Lois. I feel like you're biased for this answer. I'm gonna I feel like you're gonna be biased about this because I think there's a chance. I think there's like, do you like episodes dropping week to week or the binge better? I feel like you're gonna say week to week because you're on Superman and Lois, but I feel like there's a chance. I feel like there's a place for both of them. You know what I mean?
You know what? I don't know, because I do like the anticipation of like new episode every week, like what's gonna happen next.
But then sometimes you get pissed off and you want to know what happens like right now.
Yeah, and I love that feeling, and I really, really love that feeling when I'm watching something. But I would be absolutely lying if I didn't tell you that I'm like a binge watcher, like you wouldn't believe. So I can relate to this 100%. Like I'll finish a season of something in like a day and a half. It's embarrassing.
That's like that's sometimes one of the worst feelings though, where you spend you do it, you watch like a show in like 14 hours and then like you literally have to wait like 3.
I know, you have to wait forever for the next one. It's like I'm constantly refreshing me, like, when is the release date of this specific
And I
show?
spoke to the cast. I spoke to like the cast of Wednesday on Netflix, and they said it's kind of from an actor perspective, it's so hilarious and kind of a little like not annoying, but it's like we spent so much time working on the season, and someone watched it. And
I'm sorry to everyone.
well, no, for this one, they get to really enjoy Superman and Lois because we're getting episodes every week.
You know, it'll be good. We'll keep everyone on their toes, and we'll keep you on more, and we'll be right there every single week for it.
Absolutely. Sophia, so great catching up with you on Popternative. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Are you kidding me? Thank you so much for having me. This has been such an absolute joy.
Absolutely. Episodes rolling out starting tomorrow, March 14th on the CW, season 3 of Superman and Lois. And your Instagram account is just your name, Sofia Hasmik.
Easy peasy, just Sofia Hasmik.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. You, of course, can catch Sofia Hasmik as Chrissy in season 3 of Superman and Lois, starting March 14th on the CW. Until next time, it's Sophia and PDB signing off. I almost called you Chrissy. Signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.